ready to go.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Today we're working on this little Homelite blower that somebody left sitting around with gas in it. Now, I tell people all the time, drain the gas if you're going to let it sit for more than a month or two. But I suppose I wouldn't have a channel if everybody paid attention. So, all you new people out there, go ahead and subscribe. It's free, and we appreciate it. So let's get started and have a look at this guy. Okay, now I'm very right-handed, and the carburetor's on the far side of the machine, unless I turn it around, in which case I have to work left-handed. So I turned it around this way, and this is how we're going to work on it. The first thing we want to do is pop the air filter off. There you go. Nice air filter. Love it. You're killing me, people. Now you tell people just the basic things to do, nobody listens. But again, what would I do as a hobby if I didn't have people mistreating their lawn equipment, right? This is a pretty interesting little carburetor. It's only got a low end adjustment, no high end adjustment at all. I don't know how well she's going to take to rebuilding. Lucky for us, the fuel is empty. Don't know what shape the fuel line's in. Let's grab some pliers and Ouija that bad boy off. Yeah, just a couple of days ago I was doing one of these, and it reminded me, it doesn't happen very often, but you don't want to pinch these too hard when you're pulling them out, because you can pull them clean out of the carburetor. See, we're just breaking the seal. Once you break the seal, she'll slide right off. The fuel line feels pretty good, but this little return line, not so much. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and put a new intake line, new fuel line on while we're at it. Fuel lines are cheap and easy. And if I was buying it later, I'd want a new fuel line. Okay, let's get you out of the way. Now we can put the camera in its normal place and do open carburetor surgery. Let's have a look. Now, if you do enough of these, it almost becomes boring doing them. But if you're doing it the first time, there's a few things you want to watch for sure. Because every one of these bad boys is a little bit different. First thing you want to watch for, the first thing is don't accidentally poke your fingers while you're taking things apart. There we go. Wow, that's tall. I'm thinking we hooked that when we were taking it apart. I'm also thinking I'm not loving this carburetor. Just the fact that it's only got a single adjustment is enough to make me fall out of love in a hurry. So here's the things you look for. You can see this little dent here. This is supposed to be entirely flat. Let me see if you can see this. Try to hold it at an angle where the light shines on it. There you go. These little curves on these, the little domes, tell me that this gasket is no good. Now for the diaphragm, what we look for is flexibility. Hear that noise? That tells me that this is getting crunchy. It's getting old. So we're going to go ahead and put a new diaphragm on it while we're at it. This is the kicker, though. It's only got one adjustment, and that's the low end. The screw closer to the engine is the low side. The screw farther is the high side. This doesn't even have a high side screw. So, I'll tell you what, after thinking about it, I'm not sure of this float, and I am sure about that high side screw. Just don't like it. So we're going to put a different carburetor on this one. Let me see what I've got sitting around. Okay, let's get some fuel lines on this bad boy. Now in your world, this just happened, but in my world, this thing actually sat for a couple of days because I couldn't get parts for it. I originally, on one of these, would go ahead and rebuild the carb, but in this case, rebuilding it and replacing it, it was actually cheaper to replace it because I didn't have a kit for this particular old carb, and I needed fuel lines and whatnot anyway, and you get freebies when you buy the kit. Let's get our new carb and get her ready. Now we're going to see how the carb sits, like so. The fuel line only has to go to here. So we got this bad boy way too long. So now go in here, right about there. Now we give it a good guesstimate to get it to lay. And we want this one to lay, this tank goes like that, so we want to make sure we lay on the far side of the tank and pretty deep in. So I put a filter on her. Let's see how she looks. Man, that is beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. Let's do number 2. And I always say, get a kit that's got one of these in it. If you're buying it and you don't do this very often, because this little wire thing makes doing fuel lines super easy peasy. And I promise you're never going to shove that fuel line in that little hole, no matter how hard you try. I've seen it done. I've seen people make videos saying that's how you do it. You know, they show how you grease the line and shove it in the hole and do this and do that and do the other. But ye gods, how do you beat this? Now match that up, and because we're going to use this as the return line, we'll make her pretty short. And that's about that. Let's see our gaskets. No gasket there. No gasket there, so let's put new gaskets on it. Call her done. Another advantage to the kit is it comes with all sorts of great stuff like like gaskets and filters and all that whatnot and fuel line. Okay, perfect. Let's see, this would go on like this. No, maybe not. I think we got her backwards. You go on like this? Yes, you do. Yep, we had her backwards. Let's go ahead and flip our gasket too. Always pay attention to the holes on the carburetor and make sure your gaskets line up with them correctly. That's important. These little breather holes make the difference. See that little hole here? Lines up here. Little breather holes make the difference between running and not running at all. And that thing's got short little studs too. Okay, I should take care of this. Yeah, except for gaskets. Yeah, getting the gaskets in the right order. I'm absolutely sure I could do one of these blindfolded. One of these days I'm going to have to try. We'll do a blindfolded carb replacement. And I'll just have somebody's eyes tell me which way the gasket goes. You got a nice little curve on our fuel lines. Everything's nice and tight. And on this particular one, there's not much more to know. Went and got some new fuel a few days ago. I made the mistake of dumping old fuel in this tank. And I noticed on my equipment, on my personal equipment, things weren't running quite like they normally do. It struck me as odd on mine because I've had all my equipment for years and years. And I know how it runs. I know how it runs intimately. But when I caught myself making adjustments on both the weed eater and my blower, on my backpack blower, I said, okay, something's wrong. Something's not right here. Okay, let's put the cap back on. Let's get you out of the way. Let's prime you up. And don't worry about it if your primer bulb doesn't fill up with gas. We put clear hoses on. So if you can see mostly clear gas, like we do now, running out the exit tube, you're good to go. Okay, we got full choke. We're going to move the stuff that's going to blow away if it starts. And she feels pretty good. That's it for that. We're going to have to find an air filter for it. This is a bit of an odd duck air filter, so that's it, and we're going to call this one done. Now, I like when I get one of these little home lights because I know I've got a lot of homeowners that are watching the channel, and they're not necessarily mechanics, and they might have something like this that they picked up at Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever. And as you can see, replacing the carburetor is just so easy, it's not even funny. So if yours doesn't want to start or is run badly, find a carburetor kit with that fuel line tool, the little wire tool, and go ahead and throw the carburetor on. It's just that easy. For all you new people out there, go ahead and subscribe. It's free and we appreciate it. We'll see you next time.